Then Yeshua addressed the crowds in his Talmudim, the Torah teachers and the Prushim. He said, "Sit in the seat of Moshe. So whatever they tell you, take care to do it. But don't do what they do, because they talk, but don't act. They tie heavy loads onto people's shoulders, but won't lift a finger to help carry them. Everything they do is done to be seen by others, for they make their tefillin broad and their zitziot long. They love the place of honor at banquets, the best seats in the synagogues, and they love being greeted differently in the marketplaces and being called rabbi. But you are not to let yourselves be called rabbi, because you have one rabbi, and you are all each other's brothers. And do not call anyone on earth father, because you have one Father, and he is in heaven. Nor are you to let yourselves be called leaders, because you have one leader, and he is the Messiah. The greatest among you must be your servant, for whoever promotes himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be promoted. But woe to you, hypocritical Torah teachers and Prushim, for you are shutting the kingdom of heaven in people's faces, neither entering yourselves, nor allowing those who wish to enter to do so. Woe to you, hypocritical Torah teachers and Prushim! You go about over land and sea to make one proselyte. And when you succeed, you make him twice as fit for Gehonim as you are. Woe to you, you blind guides! You say, if someone swears by the temple, he is not bound by his oath. But if he swears by the gold in the temple, he is bound. You blind fools! Which is more important, the gold or the temple which makes the gold holy? And if you say, if someone swears by the altar, he is not bound by his oath. But if he swears by the offering of the altar, he is bound. Blind men! Which is more important, the sacrifice or the altar which makes the sacrifice holy? So someone who swears by the altar swears by it and everything on it. And someone who swears by the temple swears by it and the one who lives in it. And someone who swears by heaven swears by God's throne and the one who sits on it. Woe to you, hypocritical Torah teachers and Prushim! You pay your tithes of mint, dill, and cumin, but you have neglected the weightier matters of the Torah: justice, mercy, trust. These are the things you should have attended to, without neglecting the others. Blind guides, straining out a gnat, meanwhile swallowing a camel. Woe to you, hypocritical Torah teachers and Prushim! You clean the outside of the cup and the dish, but inside they are full of robbery and self-indulgence. Blind Perush! First clean the inside of the cup, so that the outside may be clean too. Woe to you, hypocritical Torah teachers and Prushims! You are like whitewashed tombs, which look fine on the outside, but inside are full of dead people's bones and all kinds of rottenness. Likewise, you appear to people from the outside to be good and honest, but inwardly you are full of hypocrisy and far from Torah. Woe to you, hypocritical Torah teachers and Prushim! You build tombs for the prophets and decorate the graves of the Tzaddikim, and you say, had we lived when our fathers did, we would never have taken part in killing the prophets. In this you testify against yourselves, that you are worthy descendants of those who murdered the prophets. Go ahead then, finish what your fathers started. You snakes, sons of snakes, how could you escape being condemned to Gehenna? Therefore I'm sending you prophets and sages and Torah teachers. Some of them you will kill. Indeed, you will have them executed on stakes as criminals. Some you will flog in your synagogues and pursue from town to town, and so on. You will full and guilt for all the innocent blood that has ever been shed on earth, from the blood of the innocent Havel to the blood of Zechariah ben Berechiah, whom you murdered between the temple and the altar. Yes, I tell you that all this will fall on this generation. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you kill the prophets, you stone those who are sent to you. How often I wanted to gather your children, just as a hen gathers her chickens under her wings, but you refused. Look, God is abandoning your house, leaving it desolate. For I tell you, from now on, you will not see me again until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of Adonai. As Yeshua left the temple and was going away, his Talmudim came and called his attention to its buildings. But he answered them, you see all these? Yes, I tell you, they will be totally destroyed. Not a single stone will be left standing. When he was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the Talmudim came to him privately. Tell us, they said, when will these things happen? And what will be the sign that you are coming and that the Olam Hazah is ending? Yeshua replied, watch out. Don't let anyone fool you. For many will come in my name saying, I am the Messiah. And they will lead many astray. You will hear the noise of wars nearby and the news of wars far off. See to it that you don't become frightened. Such things must happen, but the end is yet to come. For peoples will fight each other, nations will fight each other, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various parts of the world. All this is the beginning of the birth pains. At that time, you will be arrested, handed over to be punished, and put to death. All the people will hate you because of me. At that time, many will be trapped into betraying and hating each other. Many false prophets will appear and fool many people. And many people's love will grow cold because of increased distance from Torah. But whoever holds out till the end will be delivered. And this good news about the kingdom will be announced throughout the whole world as a witness to all the nations. It is then that the end will come. So when you see the abomination that causes desolation spoken about throughout the prophet Daniel standing in the holy place, let the reader understand the allusion. That will be the time for those in Yehuda to escape to the hills. If someone is on the roof, he must not go down to gather his belongings from his house. If someone is in the field, he must not turn back to get his coat. What a terrible time it will be for pregnant women and nursing mothers. Pray that you will not have to escape in winter or on Shabbat. For there will be trouble than worse. For there will be trouble than worse than there has ever been from the beginning of the world until now, and there will be nothing like it again. Indeed, if the length of time had not been limited, no one would survive, but for the sake of those who have been chosen, its length will be limited. At that time, if someone says to you, look, here's the Messiah, or there, here he is, don't believe him. For there will appear false messiahs and false prophets performing great miracles, amazing things, so as to fool even the chosen, if possible. There, I have told you in advance. So if people say to you, listen, he's out there in the desert, don't go. Or, look, he's hidden away in a secret room, don't believe him. For when the Son of Man does come, it will be like lightning that flashes out of the east and fills the sky to the western horizon. Wherever there's a dead body, there you will find the vultures. But immediately following the trouble of those times, the sun will grow dark, the moon will stop shining, the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of heaven will be shaken. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky. All the tribes of the land will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with the tremendous power and glory. He will send out his angels with a great shofar, and they will gather together his chosen people from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Now let the fig tree teach you its lesson. When its branches begin to sprout, leaves appear. You know that summer is approaching. In the same way, when you see all these things, you are to know that the time is near, right at the door. Yes, I tell you, the people will certainly not pass away before all these things happen. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. But when that day and hour will come, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, not the Son, only the Father. For the Son of Man coming will be just as it was in the days of Noah. Back then, before the flood, people went on eating and drinking, taking wives and becoming wives, right up till the day Noah entered the ark. And they didn't know what was happening until the flood came and swept them all away. It will be just like that when the Son of Man comes. Then there will be 2 men in a field, one will be taken and the other left behind. There will be 2 women grinding flour at the mill, one will be taken and the other left behind. So stay alert, because you don't know on what day the Lord will come. But you do know this: had the owner of the house known when the thief was coming, he would have stayed awake and not allowed his house to be broken into. Therefore you too must always be ready, for the Son of Man will come when you are not expecting him. Who is the faithful and sensible servant whose master put him in charge of the household staff, to give them their food at the proper time? It will go well with that servant if he is found doing his job when his master comes. Yes, I tell you that if he will put him in charge of all he owns. But if that servant is wicked and says to himself, "My master is taking his time," and he starts beating up his fellow servants and spends his time eating and drinking with drunkards, and his master will come on the day the servant does not expect, at a time he doesn't know, and he will cut him into and put him with the hypocrites, where you people will wail and grind their teeth.